All right, so we got Hagrit against Mr. Boat. Hopefully this doesn't lag too much. Oh, is my game way too loud? Okay. I'm gonna turn down the volume of my game a little bit then. How's this now? This sort of clicking. Thanks 50 Shades for the heads up. I want to make sure everything is as good as possible, so yeah. I gotta make sure everything is in good order, right? Yeah. Is there anything else? Yeah, anyway, Hagrid against Mr. Boat. This should be a really good series. Both of them are top EE players. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm just checking my stream right now. Yeah, okay, everything seems to be okay. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it looks like we're good to go. Okay, so yeah, looks like we're going to get a little bit of delay, but that's okay. It's all about the quality of the games, right? Yeah, we want the best quality games. Okay, so they're just re-hosting right now. In terms of what gods I think they will play, I feel like Hagrid. Hagrid is sort of like he loves playing random gods, so you never really know with Hagrid. And Mr. Boat can also play a wide variety of gods, though. I think his most common picks are Odin and Set. That's what I think. Actually, no, Thor, Odin, and Set. Yeah, these three. Um, I feel like Mr. Boat's most likely pick is actually going to be Thor here, just simply based off of what I've seen him been up to lately. But yeah, he could go anything. He can play a lot of gods as well. Well, Hagrid's most likely pick is probably going to be Zeus. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting series. And I'm also really excited to see what Hagrid and Mr. Boat are going to be picking, since you don't know, these guys are very versatile players. Hey, Garaki. Yeah, you tuned in at a good time. We are having a really exciting series right now. Hagrid against Mr. Boat, two both very good players. And like, I really don't know who's going to come out ahead out of these two. They're both really good players, and they've both been playing for a while. They're both really experienced, and yeah, they both. Yeah, anyway, so I don't think Hagrid and Boyd actually played, since Boyd did forfeit. I'm not sure if he intends to forfeit from the tournament. And we actually see a Zeus mirror. That's really interesting. I haven't actually seen Mr. Boat play Zeus before. So it's going to be a Zeus mirror on Anatolia. We see that both sides do have a boar, though I feel like Hagrid's boar is a little bit closer here. He could lure this boar into the town center and gather from it, and it looks like he is going to be doing that. While Mr. Boat's boar also seems to be close enough to lure into town center range, though it might take a little bit more work. Yeah, but he is doing it. I hope this board doesn't reset. Yeah, this board gets lured in just perfectly into the town center, so they're both being able to gather from the board really well. Though it looks like Mr. Boat has done a better job of having this board right under the town center. And we also see them both docking on the bottom side. Hagrid seems to be docking like a bit too far down. Like I would like to see the dock a bit further up, right in the middle of his like trio of fish trios. But yeah, it's going to be fine. And right now, they've both got. Looks like Mr. Boat has 3 villagers on boards, while Hagrid has gone for 4 villagers. Let's have a look at their villager production. Yep, they're both equal in villager production, so no one has had idle TC time yet. So far so good for both of these players. Mr. Boat, interestingly, opting to get chop wood at this shoreline with his villager instead of bringing this villager back home to gather and save wood on the storehouse, basically. But you get a little bit more idle time walking around. But yeah, it's a bit less standard. You see, Hagrid has 3 fishing ships out, while Mr. Boat seems to be slightly behind in the fishing ship numbers, probably because he's built the storehouse over here, which has cost him some wood. Looking at the goats, it looks like Mr. Boat does have more goats than Hagrid, so Hagrid... Well, if I was Hagrid, I'd be a little bit concerned about not having enough goats to age up once this boar runs out. But then Mr. Boat has 6 goats, so Mr. Boat should be fine on the goat numbers. Right now we see 6 villagers on wood for Mr. Boat, and Mr. Boat is going to dock at the top side. Actually, he has 7 because he has 1 more villager down here. And Hagrid also going to dock at the top side of the water at a similar time to Mr. Boat. So we have very similar things going on for both these players. They both chosen to dock at the top side after having 7 villagers on wood. Although Mr. Boat has opted to have his 1 villager chopping wood closer to the shoreline instead of bringing it back to base. While Hagrid has sent all his villagers back home to chop wood. And also, right now, we're seeing that Hagrid has chosen to split his villagers on new wood line. So he's going all the way up to 10 villagers on wood now. He might possibly go even higher. While Mr. Boat, he stopped putting villagers on wood, and he's now putting villagers on goats. So it looks like Mr. Boat is going to be aging up faster than Hagrid, but then he's going to have a little bit less of a fish boom. Oh no, we're getting a little bit of lag. I hope it's not me that's causing it. If I am causing the lag, then I will have to leave this game, and it might be me. I'm going to close all my tabs right now and see if that helps. I'm so sorry. Okay. So I hope things are improved a bit now. Okay, so they both have docked on the top side now. They're both making fish on the top side. Mr. Boat and Hagrid both have almost saturated all their fish on the bottom side, I believe. And they're both building their temples. They're going to have their temples finished at similar times, but I believe Mr. Boat will probably be advancing a bit faster because he's got more villagers on these goats. But then Hagrid definitely has I think more resources total, simply because he's able to get these fish out. And oh no, I missed this. There was a bit of a villager fight, and Hagrid's coming out ahead. Mr. Boat's villager got picked off by Hagrid's. Oh no, that's not good. Mr. Boat is sending out another villager to help finish this dock, but then that's definitely a win for Hagrid. That's a pretty nasty setback for Mr. Boat. And looking at it, we see him advancing through different gods. We see Athena and Hermes. Yeah, so Mr. Boat is going through Athena while Hagrid is going through Hermes. So I feel like Hagrid is probably going to be trying to go for a fast 2 TC play with his Hermes. Either that, or he might be going for a fast heroic, while Mr. Boat might be trying to play a bit more aggressive and fight Walter a little bit more. Yeah, and if you look at the score difference, Hagrid's already quite a bit ahead from just this villager kill and having this harder fish boom by going all the way up to 12 villagers in wood before advancing, while Mr. Boat only went up to 7. And yet Hagrid was still able to advance at a similar time to Mr. Boat, so yeah. And if you look at it right now, yeah, Hagrid does have 1 villager above Mr. Boat. So yeah, they both had no idle TC time. They both advanced at similar timings, but Hagrid did manage to get a villager kill on the shoreline over here. Yeah, so we see Hagrid has managed to finish 2 docks on both sides of the water, while Mr. Boat also has 2 docks. So it looks like they've both gone for 2 docks each. Hagrid has researched Persine, I think, started researching Persine. Mr. Boat uses Bolt on the Centaur to make sure the Centaur doesn't pick off this villager. I think that's a good use of Bolt. Being able to save a villager at the same time as just getting the normal myth unit kill, that's definitely worth it. While Mr. Boat is picking up a relic, he's picking up Ring of the Nibelung, which provides 0.3 gold per second. Yeah, it's a decent relic. And then now we see the first bit of action on the water right now, with Hagrid moving into Mr. Boat's dock and forcing some idle time on the fish. But then it looks like Hagrid's going to be taking some damage on his triumphs in return, and yeah, it still looks pretty even on water. Both of these guys are making triumphs out of 1 dock only, and they both started at the same time, having advanced to Classic at the same time. But Mr. Boat needs to get his fishing ships out again to make sure he's getting all the resources he can. Yeah, if we look at the food economy right now, Hagrid has so much more food than Mr. Boat. Hagrid has Persine as well. Like Hagrid looks like he's going to be able to go up to heroic soon with these food amounts. He's also grabbing the 2nd town center, which is why we see Mr. Boat has a higher score than Hagrid. It's because Hagrid's going 2 town centers. Well, so it looks like Hagrid might actually be up heroic faster than Mr. Boat, despite being on 2 town centers, which is really, really good for Hagrid. Mr. Boat does have more ships on this top side of the water, but he's not gathering from both of these docks, which is it's a real shame. That's 6 fishing ships idle. That's a big reason why Mr. Boat's hurting on the food right now. He really needs all his fishing ships gathering, and he also needs to get the Persine upgrade. Persine is such an important upgrade. Mr. Boat does have the bow saw upgrade compared to Hagrid's, I believe, only hand axe. So yeah, Mr. Boat's wood income will definitely be doing better than Hagrid's. But oh no, come on, pay attention, Mr. Boat. Don't idle your villagers like that. Now Mr. Boat is winning the top side of the water from the resources that he saved not building this town center. He does manage to push Hagrid off of the water, but he's still not fishing. He's still not fishing. Yeah, this is not good. Mr. Boat, you really need to be fishing. Okay, it looks like Mr. Boat's finally ejecting his fishing ships. Alongside as well. I mean, he's winning both sides of the water. He should be fishing. He'd be fishing way more. But then, he's not going to be winning both sides of the water for long, since Hagrid is going heroic now. And heroic age definitely will change the tide of things. Now, Mr. Boat's heroic might be following shortly. He's building his armory with 5 villagers, so it looks like it's a bit inefficient, but it looks like Mr. Boat will be up heroic on time, and he's also establishing himself on the map forward. He's starting to build around this forward gold mine. He's building this military academy. He's got his heroes out. He's got his units out, so he's gonna be doing good, it seems. Yeah, just looking at the villager numbers, Hagrid's ahead by 7 villagers, and he's also up heroic, which has 60-second research time, so that's like another 4 villagers. So Hagrid's ahead like 10 villagers. That's really, really big. And I definitely say Hagrid is in the better spot right now. Hagrid's also coming back on water. He's made an extra skiller. So he has the... So, yeah, he has this villager on favor really early on. And now he's got 3 villagers, so he's definitely going to be pumping out the skiller. These skiller were nerfed from no patch into AOMEE, with both their train time and their favor cost. I believe on no patch, they trained in 5 seconds and had a 15 favor cost, but then it's boosted to 15 seconds and a 20 favor cost, so they are nerfed a lot, but these guys are still really good units. I mean, just look at the stats on that. That's 20 hack damage and 10 crush damage per head, and they've got 70% pierce armor, 800 health, 70% pierce armor. That's insane. That they take like very, very little damage from these triremes. So yeah, these guys are definitely really big boys when it comes to winning water, and it looks like Hagrid will be winning the bottom side of the water completely. Well, Mr. Boat not doing so quite yet, but he does have the skill on the top side, so he is a little bit strong on water on the top side, but it's not going to be sufficient. So now we see Mr. Boat has taken his forward town center, but the question is whether he can hold it. So he doesn't have to worry about being forced in a 4-2 TC situation. Now he has taken his middle town center, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold it if Hagrid reaches the Mythic Age first. I don't think Hagrid is gearing up to go to the Mythic Age, looking at what he's doing. He's making a mixture of all units. Like, we see the stables come out, we see the archery range, the academies. While Mr. Boat, we only see the academy out from Mr. Boat. I'm actually really not sure about the stable here. I feel like a stable is not really necessary here. Yeah, you don't need a stable. Now Hagrid has won the bottom side of the water. I really want to see Hagrid expand out here and make more fishing boats to take over the fish on Mr. Boat's side of the water, and the same for Mr. Boat as well. Looks like he might be doing that. Yeah, he is making some fishing boats now, so he is gearing up to take the top side of the water, but Hagrid is fighting back ferociously. He's got all these hammer ships out, and he uses bronze on them. He's got 9 bronzed hammer ships, and Mr. Boat is retreating. Mr. Boat does have some triremes, which do counter the hammer ships, but then he doesn't want to fight this. I guess it makes sense to wait out bronze and keep the bronze for yourself. It looks like there's a raid coming down now on Hagrid's gold mine. Hagrid's units are out of position, and they're not going to be able to defend this. The Minotaur, I don't think the Minotaur uses special on the villager. Yeah, that's another thing we see in the new patch. The Minotaur being able to use a special on the villager. And wow, this is a really good raid. So I believe Mr. Boat managed to pick off 3 villagers for free and force out the ceasefire from Hagrid. That's absolutely huge. Hagrid is going to be taking this town center though during the ceasefire, taking advantage of the ceasefire. Still, that's a really, really big win for Mr. Boat, having that raid there on Hagrid's gold mine. And we see this hoplite based army from Mr. Boat, which I really like to see him throw down more of these military academies. And just like get out more hoplites so that he can begin to attack this town center now that restoration is down. I mean, now that ceasefire is down, he still has both bronze and restoration. Like, he really could be doing some damage on this town center. But he's only got... Oh no, he has got more military academies here, but it looks like he doesn't quite have the food production. It also looks like here the fight is going to go down, and this is going to be really, really heavily in Mr. Boat's favor here. They're fighting in the dock, though Mr. Boat has not garrisoned anything in the dock. The focus, though, for both of these players seems to be the fight on land. Both of these guys are fighting down on land, but Mr. Boat's army is consisting purely of hoplites, which are going to be taken down by these Toxotes. Mr. Boat really should be using restoration now to help win this fight. This is really even. I don't know which way this fight is going to go. So now restoration does come down, but I think it's a bit late. It's a bit late now, but with bronze, it's really hard to say which way this fight will be turning. This Minotaur is still up, and it's going to be picked off by Odysseus, but looks like Mr. Boat is backing out. He's also built 2 physicians. I'm not quite sure why, but yeah, that was a really even fight. But then that's win for Hagrid, considering Mr. Boat spent 2 god powers here, but in the meantime, Mr. Boat has won the top side of the water, it seems. Hagrid definitely wasn't paying attention here. He extended way too far into Mr. Boat's side of the water, and now Now Mr. Boat has 5 triremes, as opposed to nothing on Hagrid's top side of the water, though Hagrid does seem to be making siege ships. And Mr. Boat right now is fortifying the middle of the map with fortresses, so these 2 gold mines are going to be really, really secure. And these fortresses, they're also really nice if Hagrid chooses to advance through Hera, because if Lightning Storm gets cast and you're quick, then you can garrison all your units into these fortresses and these town centers, and then that way you won't lose. That way you won't be losing units to Lightning Storm, and that will be really, really nice. So right now we see Petroboli coming out from Mr. Boat, and it looks like these Petroboli, they don't see this fortress coming up by Hagrid, but these Petroboli could easily stop this fortress and then be working in this town center. With a few walls, they will be really, really deadly. Hagrid is moving forward to pick them off, but Mr. Boat does have the advantage here, having 2 fortresses firing arrows here, so yeah, this won't be a good fight for Hagrid if he goes into melee range to pick up these Petroboli. But Mr. Boat doesn't know about this fortress coming up for Hagrid. Mostly really low on resources, so neither of them seem to be going Mythic anytime soon. Hagrid is opting for the Skilla spam on the top side of the water, and it looks like he will be making a comeback on the top side. Hagrid definitely has more fishing eco than Mr. Boat, but he's also making caravans, which is going to drain his food eco quite a bit. And Mr. Boat has opted to make some farms. But wow, Mr. Boat still doesn't have pickaxe, actually. That's a bit surprising. Well, Hagrid has Bowsaw and Quarry, so Hagrid's definitely doing better in the eco-ups. And I'd also like to see Plow when you farm like this. Both of them seem to be investing in a bit of trade. Yeah, I don't actually like making a trade this early. I feel like it's more important to get Mythic first, especially since Mr. Boat does have all these gold mines here. He has quite a few gold mines left to chew through. And Hagrid's Mythic through Hephaestus. Wow, I didn't see him advancing, but Mr. Boat's still quite a while away from Mythic Age, so... Not looking good for Mr. Boat. Yes, for fuck's sake, yes I am. Don't hold it against me. I had my reasons. I'm not going to explain them now. We're in the middle of casting a game. And so we see a bit of a fight coming down here, and looks like Hagrid is going to be fighting under 2 fortresses. In that, these fortresses are doing absolute work, especially with the arrows of the Alfar upgrade from the relics, which gives them 3.4 pierce damage, and with 3 arrows, that's like 10 pierce damage a second, which is absolutely huge. So these fortresses, they're absolutely melting Hagrid's army. Hagrid is coming with the Heliopolis, which will be able to do good work in helping take down these fortresses, but I feel like Hagrid doesn't really have a reason to be going after these, to be pushing here right now. I mean, he is Mythic Age. He should be waiting on these armory upgrades first. He has 3 armories. Like, there's no reason for Hagrid to be pushing in right now. Hagrid is full pop though, so, and while Mr. Boat is struggling a bit on the population, but a lot of Hagrid's population is in these water units on the top side of the water. So we actually see Mr. Boat seems to have quite a substantially larger army than Hagrid, despite being only 145 population. So yeah, these fights, I definitely don't think they're worth it for Hagrid. These fights right here. Mr. Boat has to spend so many resources just transitioning to farms. He's finally gotten pickaxe, and oh no, what's this? 16 villagers on favor. No, this is way too many. No, Hagrid, you don't want to be doing this. 16 is way too many. Yeah, so this game certainly isn't over yet. Like, it looks like Hagrid is winning now, but then he's struggling to push through on land since he got so much population in water. And he's finally come around to moving it and getting rid of Mr. Boat's fishing ships. And then now he's starting to delete his water for more population. It's a good move. It's a good move. And now Mr. Boat's through the Mythic Age and uses Lightning Storm. You see Hagrid's population dropping down to 140 out of the Lightning Storm. Is he going to be able to keep on this push? And we see Mr. Boat has just so much more land army than Hagrid right now. The scores of both of these players are really, really close. Really, really close now. We see the, Mr. Boat does manage to get a free crab monster out from his Hera, but it's not going to matter. Yeah, the scores of these players are really, really close, but it looks like Mr. Boat is catching up with it since fighting the land is so important now. And Hagrid still has these 16 villagers on favor. Wow, that's just way too many. That's such a waste. Like, is Hagrid going to be able to hold on to the middle of the map? You see Mr. Boat actually taking the score lead now. Taking the score lead over Hagrid. Hagrid's going for all this Colossus spam now, but then Mr. Boat does have, he's got 7 on favor, which is a good amount, but he's going to be able to make these Medusa to counter all these Colossi coming out. And also, he's also got all his heroes here. He's got all his heroes. He's going to be able to pick off the Colossus easily. These Peltas counter these Toxotes really well. Mr. Boat's just got so much more land army than Hagrid. You see these hoplites now, they're moving on to the Petrobolos. The Bellerophon goes to stop Hagrid's Colossus. Mr. Boat has finished the gold mine. He's got to be careful not to idle his villagers. He's still got another gold mine here that's completely untouched. Hagrid also has a gold mine to the right, so I don't think either of these players are going to be gold starved quite yet. But now the tide seems to be turning. The tide seems to be turning, and Hagrid is winning back land. Hagrid is winning back land again, and Hagrid has taken the score lead. Mr. Boat's still idling all these villagers. Mr. Boat's population is falling lower and lower. Mr. Boat's only at 140 population now. What's happened? All these archery ranges are still auto-killing Toxotes. Mr. Boat also not making any hoplites right now. Not working. No, he's finally queuing more hoplites again. Yeah. Wow, this is a really close game. This is a really close game. I feel like these hoplites are just scaling better into late game than Mr. Boat's Toxotes right now, since they do get more health from the champion upgrade than the Toxotes. They're just scaling really well into the late game. And also, with Mr. Boat's archer-heavy army composition, he's not got anything to take out this Heliopolis except his villagers. But his villagers, they're busy repairing the fortress and not moving in to remove this Heliopolis. And these Medusa, they're not doing much because Hagrid has stopped making Colossus. I know, Hagrid is still making Colossus, but these Medusa, they're just getting picked off so fast by Hagrid's heroes. And now the fortress is down for Mr. Boat. Mr. Boat is going to struggle getting out those premium Heliopolis to make sure he has that good advantage on land. Hagrid still has quite a bit of population left just guarding the water, which I'm not sure is necessary, but yeah, this fight on land is really intense, and Mr. Boat really needs those Medusas now. Just so carelessly losing them in the middle, it's really costing them now with these Colossus coming in. And keep in mind, these are unupgraded Colossi. They are also nerfed a little bit on Extended Edition with a little bit less hit points. So these Colossus aren't the full powerhouse Colossuses that you see like the fully upgraded gold Colossus on no patch. They're quite a lot. They're a little bit weaker, but they're still very powerful. It's Medusa now. I believe it just uses special on just uses special, so it's not going to be available for this Colossus. This other Medusa's coming in. Mr. Boat has to micro this Medusa onto the Colossus, and it looks like Mr. Boat is doing that, so Silver Colossus down for Hagrid. Mr. Boat is holding on. He does seem to be holding on with these Toxotes. Both of these players also seem to have a impressive trade going. But Hagrid definitely seems to have the edge here. He's got way more upgrades than Mr. Boat. He's got full-on champion upgrades. But yeah, this is really back and forth. This is a really intense match. It's Medusa right now being picked off by Bellerophon, and then now all these towers coming in. These towers are definitely going to do work on Mr. Boat's units. They're right now firing away at these villagers, and yeah, this pressure's on for Mr. Boat. I do want to see more fortresses coming down for Hagrit. And also, I feel like these Colossi are a little bit of a waste against all the Medusas and all the heroes. But yeah, wow, that was really close. For some moments, I thought Mr. Boat would be making a comeback, but it looks like Hagrit does manage to seal the game out. That was a really good game. That was really back and forth, really close game. Yeah, so Mr. Boat finally decides to tap out. Oh no, I should have checked the post game a bit. Right. I should have checked the post game. So I don't know if these guys are still chatting in the post game. I think they are. Yeah, I think they're still chatting. I think I left the game a bit too soon. Wow, that was a really close game. Really close. So we're going to be tuning in for game 2. I'm not sure. I'm not sure though if it's better for me to stream this, because there were a few lag spikes last game. Yeah, so now we're going on to game 2 after an intense Zeus mirror. Intense Zeus mirror on Anatolia. Yeah, like that was. Ooh, I really thought Mr. Boat was making a comeback at many points in the game, but Hagrit stepped down and Hagrit stepped up and put his foot down. Right now we see Hagrit going sticking to Zeus, while Mr. Boat has gone to playing Isis, and the map is Marsh. Both of these players have opted to try to scout forward to see if they can find any boars first, instead of moving on to their back zebra. But it looks like Mr. Boat might be a little bit unlucky with that. Nope, he does find it just fine. But then since Mr. Boat does only start with two villagers, since he is Egyptian, I'm slightly worried for Mr. Boat having idle time, having to walk so far forward to gather his hunt. Yeah, I'm slightly worried. But Hagrit shouldn't have any idle time here on this town center. You also see the Scarab pendant over here for Mr. Boat, which is going to be a really good relic for him, since it increases the damage of his siege towers against buildings by 50%, and 50% is absolutely huge. So that's going to make his Ancestors and Eclipse push so much more powerful. His siege towers are going to be taking down buildings 50% faster, which is really huge. That is if he does take this relic, which he should do, since it's right under him. Let's have a look at the other relics on the map. We see Hilt of Argus, which is a pretty good relic, Girdle of Hippolyta, and the Thundercloud Troll. So all pretty good relics, but I think the Scarab Pendant is the best relic here. We don't see any other sort of game-breakingly powerful relics, I think, apart from the Scarab Pendant. Looking at the gold mines, Mr. Boat has a really nice starting gold mine. Hagrid's definitely not going to be able to push Mr. Boat off of this gold mine with his tower over here defending. Just chucking it down the temple over here and maybe 2 houses against this forest, and this gold mine is going to be secure. But then, yeah, it looks like the gold mines are a little bit sparse on this map. Mr. Boat does have a really beautiful second gold mine here that is protected by this town center, so if Mr. Boat scouts that, maybe he will want to go for a 2 town center play instead of a fast heroic. It could also be a fast 2 town center grabbing this forward town center, especially since there's so much hunt around it. Wow, that's really incredible. There's so much hunt. Yeah. Looks like we are going to see a forward monument to villagers from Mr. Boat, so I believe Mr. Boat will be trying to take this town center, since it secures so much hunt. He will be trying to advance quickly and take this town center. He's got 4 villagers on gold. So he, well, that's a bit of a larger amount. I'm actually not sure what the intention is with these 4 villagers on gold. Maybe he will be trying to research Flood of the Nile quickly, but then with this forward monument here, I feel like Mr. Boat's plan is to try and grab this town center as early as possible. I mean, if you don't go for a fast town center grab here, then this monument here being so forward doesn't really make sense, because it's just going to get picked off, and it's going to be a waste of resources. It's just going to get picked off. We see Hagrid now building his temple with two villagers. So it looks like Hagrid might be going for a bit of centaur action, since he's going to have, I think, maybe 2 villagers preying on the temple to go for some centaur raids. Now, let's look at how close these players are to advancing. Both of them are about 300 food, so none of them are quite able to advance yet. If I were Hagrid and I spotted this relic over here, I would make a Jason and try to nab this relic and even bolt the Pharaoh. But then, I mean, from Hagrid's point of view, he doesn't know that the Pharaoh hasn't actually taken this relic back home yet. But yeah, this relic, I definitely wouldn't want Mr. Boat to have this relic. That would make his ancestor in the Eclipse push so much stronger. It looks like both of these players are going to be advancing through the Classical Age. Mr. Boat is going to be up Classical Age sooner. He's got 6 on gold, and he's got 280 gold already. So Mr. Boat should be able to grab the Spore Town Center without any problem from Hagrid. Though if Hagrid advanced quicker, Mr. Boat might not have been able to grab this town center. I'm not sure. Especially seeing that Hagrid is Zeus, and Zeus does have that bolt power to instantly kill the Pharaoh, empowering the TC. Like, if he advanced quickly, he could easily then make sure that Mr. Boat isn't able to take this town center. But I don't think that is going to be happening. Everything's 30. This is the Gold Hyena tournament that started, I think, in November. Yeah, it started in November. So it's been going on for a while now. This is a best of 5. Oh, I forgot to change the score. Yes, Hagrid is up 1-0. Yeah, okay, so I fixed that right now. Yeah, now we see 9 villagers building this town center over here. Hagrid has advanced to the Classical Age, but he's only got a centaur out. He's right now queuing his Odysseus. He's also got his Jason out, but then it's not going to be in time to stop this town center. Though if Mr. Boat is, though Mr. Boat does lose a villager here. Though Hagrid has to be careful not to lose the centaur. Okay, so Hagrid does manage to escape with a centaur. He's got a second centaur out, so it looks like Hagrid is going to be trying to go centaur raiding. Keep in mind that on Extended Edition, the centaurs do 2-shot villagers, so this is a potential viable strategy that he can use against Egyptian. He does pick off another villager here. He's got the Jason, and Odysseus focuses down the Pharaoh. We see two barracks coming out from Mr. Boat, so we're going to see quite a few classic units, but I'm not sure if 2 barracks is exactly what you want against these centaurs. You really want to be making these priests, you know? so he can stop these centaurs. And these centaurs are going to find the gold mine here. And Mr. Boat's already backing off here, but these centaurs, they aren't going to get another villager pick off, but they do manage to force some idle time. So yeah, that's definitely really annoying for Mr. Boat right now to deal with these centaurs. Like Ruby players, they like you almost never see Zeus going for these centaur raids against Isis on Ruby, but then on No Patch and on Extended Edition, we do see the strategy being used against Egyptians quite often because they do two-shot villagers. They're very scary, these centaurs. Mr. Boat definitely has to be really careful about it. Hagrit's now taking a second town center. It's going to be the back town center though, so it's not going to be this forward town center. This forward town center would fall very easily to Ancestors and Eclipse. But then this back town center, it doesn't quite secure as much hunt like Mr. Boat's town center is doing right now. Mr. Boat has actually managing to queue spearmen out from 2 barracks, which is really expensive in terms of food. Like queuing spearmen drains up your food so fast, especially since they train so quickly. They take only 9 seconds to train, as opposed to villagers that take 14 seconds, or hoplites, which are also 14 seconds. So yeah, spearmen really drain up your food so fast. Now Hagrit getting another pick off on Mr. Boat's villagers, but Mr. Boat still is ahead in villager count. Mr. Boat is still 5 villagers ahead of Hagrit because he has grabbed this town center up sooner than Mr. Boat. I mean, sooner than Hagrit. Looks like Hagrit isn't making more centaurs. He's only got these 2 centaurs running around. He still has the 2 villagers on favor, but I don't think he's making more centaurs. Now he's moving forward. He's establishing control of the map. He doesn't know about Hagrit's hunting over here. But it looks like he is going to be able to pick up a centaur here, and he is establishing map control. So this is good for Mr. Boat. He's picked off Odysseus, and he's also picked off a centaur. He's might be picking off Jason. Nope. Nope. He's yeah, and he's actually moving around over here to get a nice raid, but then the centaurs are picking off another villager. There's 18 villagers on hunting these 2 orcs here, so it's kind of a real shame that that Mr. Boat's Pharaoh isn't here to empower it. I'm not sure if Mr. Boat's Pharaoh is still alive. See, Hagrid has to be careful about getting housed. He's building a house now. I'd also stop making the Hippocons if I were Hagrid, seeing as he's got all these spearmen to deal with. I mean, these Toxotes, they do much better than the spearmen, against the spearmen and the Hippocon anyway. And he is struggling a bit on food to make villagers. Mr. Boat's goal right now is to just go heroic and then be able to start pushing with Ancestors and Eclipse. But these spearmen aren't... I feel like they're not really pulling their weight. These spearmen are not really pulling their weight. Yeah, he needs priests, and he's got more priests coming out now. Hagrid's also gathering his pigs now. He does need husbandry to make sure that he gathers them as fast as possible, which I'm not sure if he is getting, but he really should be getting the husbandry upgrade before gathering these pigs, seeing as you should get it anyway. You gather 20% faster with the husbandry upgrade, which is quite substantial. See, Mr. Boat's also taking another town center. Is he advancing through heroic yet? No, Mr. Boat's not actually up through heroic. So where did all Mr. Boat's food go? They're building it with 1 town center, so this will take quite a while. I mean, he's building it with 1 villager. You see a fight coming down in the middle, and we've got all these centaurs over here for Hagrid. They're just picking off the spearmen, though it does look like Mr. Boat has the numbers advantage in this fight. But he doesn't have anything to really counter these centaurs yet. He's only got 2 priests, and the priests are going to be getting onto the centaurs, but... Yeah, I think it's still too early in the game to tell which way this game is going. Like, yeah, now more of these priests coming down on these centaurs. These priests, they kill the centaurs so fast. Mr. Boat's got 3 town centers to Hagrid's 2 town centers, though Mr. Boat does seem to be stuck in Classical Age. I personally would have liked to see a heroic come out for Mr. Boat. He's doing a classic fight with spearmen and slingers. And Hagrid might have problems taking this town center, though Hagrid does have ceasefire. See Prosperity come down from Mr. Boat with 34 gold miners, 20 of them being on this gold mine empowered by the Pharaoh. That's going to be a huge amount of gold for Mr. Boat. He's going to be able to get out so many priests. These centaurs definitely aren't going to be an issue after that, and he might even be taking this 4th town center after the Prosperity. Or he may be starting his farming economy. That's going to be a huge amount of gold for Mr. Boat. He's got 37 villagers and gold during Prosperity. You see another fight break out. These priests need to micro onto the centaurs. While Hagrid's centaurs are retreating. Hagrid just doesn't have the numbers to take on these fights without the centaurs contributing, and these centaurs are just getting zoned out by the priests, and that's one of the big issues about going for centaurs against Egyptians. Like, while you will still be able to get the nice raids in, once you start fighting against Egyptian, the centaurs are really not too great against the priests. They get shut down really hard. Mr. Boat needs to be making more priests to help out. Yep, he is making more priests. All these priests now, they're getting picked off. There's going to be no priests left here to fight out the centaurs, and yeah, he just didn't have enough priests. He's also making priests from his town center here. A lot of pigs here. Hagrid does finally have the husbandry upgrade, though Mr. Boat still seems to be lacking it. Mr. Boat also seems to have a lot of idle villagers. He needs to watch out about that. Not idling these villagers. Oh no, what's going on? Come on, don't idle your villagers. You gotta be paying attention. I think Mr. Boat's really focusing on all the action happening up front here right now with all the centaurs and the classic fighting. He's now got a good number of priests now to be able to fight back against the centaurs. And yeah, just what I was saying earlier, these centaurs, I don't think they like fall off really quickly against Egypt as opposed to, let's say, Atlantean or other Greeks or Norse, like, because Egyptians can deal with the centaurs in fights much more easily with their priests. The priests having so much range and also being generally just better anti-myth units than most other heroes. Like two priests is roughly equivalent of one Greek H2 hero, one Greek wood hero. Yeah, so now these centaurs are trying to run through here, but then they do get body blocked by the spearmen, which slows them enough for the priest to hit them. And yeah, this is definitely going to be a nice pickup for Mr. Boat. Then we do see Hagrid has reached the heroic age, so Hagrid is ahead in tech right now. And Hagrid does have the food to go mythic. He just needs to be able to mine this gold. And I don't think Mr. Boat knows about this gold mine. Yeah, he doesn't know about this gold mine. He hasn't scouted that yet. Mr. Boat's best chance right now is to be able to kick Hagrid off of these 2 gold mines. Since unlike Mr. Boat, like, Hagrid's 2nd town center doesn't actually secure a gold mine like his one, so Hagrid's map, like, the way Hagrid's map spawned, he was much more vulnerable to getting gold starved than Mr. Boat. Mr. Boat also hasn't picked up this relic, which is definitely a missed opportunity. He is walling up the side of the map, so Mr. Boat is controlling the map really well. And this might go to late game. This might go to late game. So right now, Mr. Boat's focus is making sure that Hagrid isn't able to take this town center. He's got all these priests focusing down the Hydra, and we see the Hydra just falls so quickly. These Stingers, though, they need to be microed onto the Toxotes to take them out. All the Hippicons do fall down. We see Ancestors being cast by Mr. Boat. What? Wait. Why did Hagrid ceasefire? I mean, Hagrid ceasefire before the Ancestors was cast. What? Was it preemptive? Like, he wasn't in position to take this town center, and now Hagrid's going to be fighting 4-2 town centers. What? Why did Hagrid ceasefire? As we see Masons being picked up by Mr. Boat, so like with fortified town centers, which is also being researched, and Masons, this town center is going to be really difficult to take down. We also see Monument to Soldiers going up, so Hagrid's, yeah, I mean it's not like Zeus has Earthquake, but it might prevent Lightning Storm. So Hagrid's, no, we see Hagrid's going through Hephaestus. He's almost through Hephaestus now. So Hagrid is stuck 2 to 4 town centers, and he really needs to be making a play right now. He really needs to be making a play to push on this town center. If he doesn't make a play soon, then he's just going to lose to the fact that he is stuck 42 town centers, and that's really difficult without Underworld Passage. I really think Apollo would have done much more for Hagrid here than Dionysus. With Underworld Passage, he would be able to push on these 2 fronts at the same time and force Mr. Boat to split his army while being able to constantly change focuses. We see Hagrid again fighting Mr. Boat, which is absolutely what he has to be doing right now. He's not going to be able to take advantage of the timing Hephaestus gives in terms of researching the army upgrades and everything. Because he's 42 town centers, he has to be constantly fighting. If you don't keep fighting when you're stuck in a 42 town center situation, you will lose. You will lose. You see Mr. Boat forward building now. He's got all these migdals up. He's getting the siege works up. He's going to be pushing on this gold mine, though Hagrid has started gathering from his other gold mine. He's also got a nice wall to protect it, but then like without Underworld Passage, I don't see how Hagrid's going to be able to come back from this. He really, really needed the Underworld Passage. Bronze isn't going to cut it when it comes to pushing this town center. I mean, after all, Bronze doesn't improve your Colossus or Heliopolis, which are the big units that you want to be using to take down this building, not Hippicons and Toxotes. Yeah, now we see the War Elephants come out. You see some forms out for Mr. Boat, and Mr. Boat actually has an incredible set of eco upgrades. He also mythic through Osiris. He's going to have that Son of Osiris, which is just super powerful and super difficult for Greeks to deal with. He doesn't have the upgrade that makes Pharaoh have more stats, though. We might be getting that, I'm not sure, but I don't see how Hagrid is going to be able to deal with this. Hagrid's also starting his trade route, but it's a very miserable trade route. Like, these caravans are only getting him 45 gold each. The break-even point, where I'd say caravans are about equal to a Greek villager with pickaxe, is 75 gold. And these caravans, they're only getting 45 gold, so this is definitely not good. The Son of Osiris is getting a little bit out of position, but then it doesn't matter. The Son of Osiris is going to be able to stay alive, and stay healthy, and continue to help in this push. We also see the catapults coming out. We see loads of war elephants. Loads and loads of war elephants. I'd really love to see a war elephant upgrade coming down here. The Bellerophon is going to come in and try to pick up the Son of Osiris, and I feel like he might be successful. Oh no, that was a bit careless by Hagrid letting this happen. He could have kept a siege tower next to Son of Osiris and garrisoned Bellerophon into the siege, and garrisoned Son of Osiris into the siege tower to protect it from Bellerophon. But right now, Son of Osiris is going to fall, and yeah, Son of Osiris does fall, but that doesn't help Hagrid enough. Hagrid is making a market down here, but then this place is completely walled off by Mr. Boat. It's not looking good for Hagrid, even after picking off Son of Osiris. Yeah, anyway, the push is happening now. Hagrid does have Crenellation, He is making prodromus as well to counter the elephants, but these elephants, they're just so population efficient, and Mr. Boat is full population. But it's not going to be enough to stop this elephant rampage. Like, so in order to hold on to this town center, Hagrit really needs a lot of towers to just be able to defend against these elephants. These prodromus aren't going to cut it, but then, I mean, tower spamming isn't gonna... It's not gonna work, because Mr. Boat still got this 4th town center. Like if you securing this location, even if you secure this town center, you're still stuck 42 town center. And also, Hagrid's going to be running out of this gold mine fairly soon. I'm not sure how much gold he has left on it. Yeah, he's got 2,000 gold, and he's going to be running out of this gold mine soon. And he's not going to have any trade. He has managed to break down the wall here, but then Mr. Boat is on it. He's got 9 spearmen, making sure that Hagrid does not have a trade route established from this town center. And we see Hagrid tap out. Very nice game. So now it's 1-1. I do think that Apollo would have been much better for Hagrid here. And also his ceasefire, like, I don't know what his ceasefire was for. Let's have a look at the post game. All resources total. We see Hagrid actually getting outbooned by Mr. Boat. How do you get outbooned by Egyptians as Greeks? Oh no, it's a prosperity. Okay. Yeah, so Hagrid lost quite a few centaurs. I'm not sure if the centaur raids really paid off for Hagrid. Like, he picked off a few villagers, but then the centaurs were so expensive for Hagrid. I mean, like, and then they just died so quickly to the priests. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if centaurs was the right strategy for Hagrid to go for there. I really don't think it was the right strategy. And also, yeah, Mr. Boat is right. I think Mr. Boat did have a bit better map, like having this forward town center that had so much hunt. Hagrid's saying nothing he could have done there. I'm not sure if I exactly agree with that, but I definitely think the map did favor Mr. Boat. But then I'm not sure if Hagrid's right to say that there's nothing he could have done there. But yeah, I really think the map was favoring Mr. Boat. You see Poseidon against Odin. Okay, Hagrid going Poseidon and Mr. Boat Odin. We're finally seeing some Odin from Mr. Boat. I'm sure our Norse players would be very excited for this. It's going to be on Ghost Lake. Mr. Boat is bringing in over all these goats in order to use with Great Hunt, and I think he's going to be trying to get another Auroch as well with a Great Hunt as well as these goats. So it looks like Mr. Boat is getting 5 goats and an Auroch from Great Hunt, which is a really good use. I think that's definitely worth it. Like, if you save Great Hunt to use on just goats, the goats fatten up a bit, so you get a bit less. And you'll only get, like, I think about 7 goats on average if you try to save it and use it purely on goats. So yeah, this was definitely worth it. Exchanging 2 goats for an Auroch. We also see Mr. Boat scouting the middle of the map first. I really like scouting the middle of the map first in Ghost Lake because I feel like that's where most of the goats are. While Hagrid has chosen to scout around his base, which does mean that he finds his second hunt, which is important for him, more important for him because he only has 1 Aurochs, seeing that he doesn't have Great Hunt. So it's really nice for Hagrid to know about this hunt patch here. We see also Mr. Boat making use of this ox cart really well. It's got so many villagers around it, though this gold villager might be walking a little bit far. But yeah, 1 ox cart, 3 resources, food, wood, and gold on 1 ox cart. That's really nice ox cart. And Hagrid's got 5 villagers on this Auroch. He will need to be moving them off of this Auroch soon, probably onto this hunt. So that's probably, I would probably just be doing that right away and just leaving 1 villager on this Auroch so that the villager can stay on the Auroch the whole time. Hagrid also found his other hunt, while Mr. Boat doesn't know about his second hunt yet, but he has scouted through the middle and he has found 2 more goats. Yeah, so I think Mr. Boat's definitely doing better on the goat scouting, having scouted through the middle first. Now, the reason why I think the middle has more goats than the other parts of the map for Ghost Lake is because how the map works, it like designates like possible areas for the players of the goat for of both players where both players can spawn, and the middle sort of overlaps between the two players, so that's why there's more goats there, because the goats of both players can spawn in the middle of the map. At least that's what I think is the reason why in Ghost Lake you have more goats in the middle. But I'm not exactly sure. I mean, since Hagrit did make these maps, he can correct me on that if he does find out I'm saying spreading misinformation about the maps. But yeah, now that this hunt is about to run out, Mr. Boat is making his third ox cart. So he's got 3 ox carts. He's got a really nice split, and once this hunt runs out, he doesn't know about the caribou up here, so he's going to be able to gather that. Just making the ox carts at the perfect time. So it's just a really solid play right now by Mr. Boat, and also scouting the middle of the map. Hagrit here, also looking to be advancing at maybe a similar time to Mr. Boat. He is building the temple. He's probably going to be up at 4:30. Mr. Boat's going to be up a bit faster. He's going to be up for Freya. Actually, Hagrid's not going to be able to up at 4:30, so I'm kind of curious to know what Hagrid is going to be advancing to. Is he going to be advancing through Ares or Hermes? So he does choose Hermes. Like, since he advanced a little bit late, I'd say, then maybe it does make sense to go Hermes. And yeah, actually, Ares wouldn't quite have... Like, Ares is usually really effective against Norse. Like, just shutting down their building production is so annoying for them, because it's their army that builds buildings also. So it's just like... It's just so annoying when you can't make builders except from your town center, you know? So Pestilence is really annoying for Norse to deal with. And also the Cyclops is a massive pain. If you back it up with a few Toxotes, it's just really hard to take down for Odin, who has to rely on these really slow and expensive Herser. Looking at the map, we see actually a really, really safe gold mine for both players. So I feel like especially since this is a 2 gold mine ghost stick as well, I feel like this sort of calls for some a boomy playstyle from both of these players. But then, as Poseidon against Odin, if you just let the Odin boom and do what he wants, then it won't end up well for you, because you'll have to contend with Ragnarok. So Hagrid isn't going to boom despite how the map spawns these really safe gold mines. He's actually going to go for 3 stables, and he's going to be trying to play quite raidy or aggressive instead of just going for a fast 2 CC like I would kind of expect. You might be able to stop Mr. Boat from hunting here, but Mr. Boat still has 17 goats left in his base, which is a huge number. You see Forest Fire also coming down. Hagrid losing 1 village to the Forest Fire, so it's a bit unlucky. A little bit unlucky. Usually Forest Fire doesn't actually catch any villagers. But now this storehouse coming down also means Hagrid gets 2 free militia, so that kind of makes up for the fact that he lost a villager. These 2 free militia are definitely going to be helpful when it comes down to fighting. And now Mr. Boat actually moving down here to Hagrid's caribou. He's going to be trying to gather them. He's also got all his army down here, while Hagrid's soldiers are up here in front of the barracks and trying to pick off Mr. Boat's spawns. There's also going to be a massive raid down here on these villagers. Well, this is getting juicy. This is getting really interesting. I bet Hagrid's definitely not happy about this. He will want to stop Mr. Boat from gathering here, and it looks like his army is stronger, especially with the 2 militia backing it up. Like, it's definitely stronger with the 2 militia. Now Hagrid's going to be able to get a good raid on these and maybe pick off 1 or 2 villagers. Mr. Boat turns around and tries to fight it, but I don't think Mr. Boat quite has the army to do so. You see the Centaur being microed really nicely by Hagrid. The Centaur not being attacked by the Herser. Well, the Herser do get hit in, but the Centaur is faster than the Herser, and is managing to escape just fine. It looks like Hagrid definitely will be coming out ahead in this little engagement. So that was a bit greedy by Mr. Boat, moving forward to try and take the caribou like that. That was a bit greedy. And Hagrid is going to punish him for it. You see, Hagrid actually has 55 population, and he seems to be housed. Wow, he actually has 62 population, which is quite high for 7 minutes in game. Yeah, so Hagrid definitely has this really strong army right now. He's pressuring Mr. Boat. Mr. Boat has chosen to forward build here, which means that he's going to be losing his longhouses. Maybe he shouldn't have been trying to build so aggressively, I don't know. Hagrid needs to be careful here not to lose a centaur, but he does lose a centaur. Unfortunate. Yeah, like this centaur, the centaur against Odin is just really, really good. Like, even though he's not Zeus, I think it's actually worth making centaurs as Hagrid, like without the upgrade. Just because Odin Odin just has so much trouble killing centaurs because of how slow these Hirsute are, and also once you get to the heroic age, you got frost giants, which are also a really good anti-myth unit. But frost giants are also really slow and not able to catch centaurs even without upgrades. Like only Jarls can really counter the centaurs, I'd say, from Odin. But then, like, you have to go to the heroic age and make a hill for it before you can get access to Jarls. That's why I think centaurs are so good against Odin. I'd even make centaurs as Poseidon. Hagrid now putting on a lot of aggression with these Hippicon. Mr. Boat's army isn't quite big enough to defend it, and once this temple comes down, it also means the relic is going to drop, and Hagrid might be looking to pick it up. Yep, Hagrid does pick up the relic with his Hippolyta. Infantry have more hack armor. That definitely was a helpful relic for Mr. Boat. It's equal to half an armory upgrade on the Allstarks, which makes them which helps them a lot in their fights against Hagrid's Hippicons. See a bit of a fight happening now. It looks like I'm not sure if Mr. Boat really should be taking this fight, since he's got, like, he seems to just have a much smaller army than what Hagrid has right now. Hagrid really should get medium Hippicon. With 14 Hippicons, it's definitely worth it. Hagrid's got 1, 2, 3, 4 stables, and he's making an archery range right now. And the fight does happen. Mr. Boat has the defender's advantage, and he should be fine in this fight because of that. And Hagrid, still missing the medium Hippicon upgrade. Really, really needs to get it. He did lose 3 Hippicon in the fight. I'm not sure how many units he picked off, but yeah, that was definitely a fine fight to take for Mr. Boat, so Mr. Boat doing okay. I'm not sure if Hagrid knows about this hunt here. Yeah, he does know about this hunt, but I'm not sure why Hagrid isn't trying to contest it. Though, to be honest, I don't think Hagrid can with the side of this army now. Hagrid's finally gotten the medium Hippicon upgrades, and he's making more Hippicons, but like, Mr. Boat's army is mainly Ulfsarks, so I feel like a more Toxote heavy army would be good for Hagrid. You see a fight happening out now, in the middle of the map. It's really hard to say which way this fight will go. Hagrid has 31 favor. I would definitely be making centaurs out here with this amount of favor. Yeah, this fight looks fairly even, but Mr. Boat does win the fight with I think defender's advantage. He's got his longhouses a bit closer to where the action is happening. So yeah, Mr. Boat came out ahead on that fight, but it wasn't too terrible for Hagrid. And also with the unit composition, just like these Allstarks, like infantry counter cavalry, and the Allstarks on EE, I believe they got buffed a little bit. They got 5 extra health, so that definitely helps Mr. Boat as well in the fight. So Mr. Boat coming out ahead in that engagement. And he's going to get a raid now on Hagrid's villagers. The Allstarks do have Lone Wanderer, which makes them faster. That makes them even better for raiding. And wow, all these villager picks off. That's going to be really good for Mr. Boat. It's going to be really good. Hagrid's rushing there with his army to try and hold it, but the Allstarks have already picked off the villagers and they're going to be able to escape easily with their high speed. even against these Greek Hippicons. The Toxotes are firing at the All-Stars, but because the All-Stars have the Lone Wanderer upgrade, the Toxotes actually cannot hit them. You see, Mr. Boat actually already has Shaft Mine. What? That's really, really early, but it's still a really good upgrade. I'm not sure exactly how much it gives for Norse, like how important it is, but I do remember it is one of the more important upgrades. While looking at Hagrit, he's only got Pickaxe. Neither player has Hand Axe. That kind of makes sense because neither player is actually making too many wood units right now. See a lot of action happening here. Again, these fights are just really, really close. It's really close. I feel like Hagrid's definitely, his army is definitely way too heavy on the Hippicon. He definitely wants more of these Toxotes to deal with this All-Star based army from Mr. Boat. Yeah, again, the defender's advantage coming in from Mr. Boat with all the nearby military buildings, helping to send reinforcements straight into fight as soon as units are lost. So right now, Mr. Boat is actually quite a bit ahead. He's ahead in score despite also taking another town center. Actually, he's got like 250 score lead. And Hagrid's still in one town center, and he's got 5 less villagers, possibly due to this raid and also just choking on food amounts. I'm not sure, but Greek usually should have more villagers than Norse because Norse also has to train ox carts out from their town center, and Dwarves take slightly longer to train than regular villagers, though they are better than regular villagers at what they do, which is mine gold. Now that Hagrid has introduced more Toxotes into his army, he's actually doing really well in these fights, and yeah, now he's medium Toxotes. I think Hagrid's definitely going to be winning the fights, but the damage has already been done with the bad fights he's taken, and like Mr. Boat's already quite a bit ahead. And also, given this map, it's going to be hard to stop the inevitable Ragnarok. Mr. Boat's also introduced some raiding cavalry into his army, which will help against the Toxotes that Hagrid is making more of now. Hagrid's also got the resources to go heroic, but he has stayed on one town center. So Hagrid, I guess, is looking to use Curse to try and get to use Curse and Earthquake. Maybe Hagrid intends to go Mythic on one town center. I'm not sure. That'd be a sensible play here. Hagrid's also building really forward with his villager, and I really like that. I really like this forward build here as Poseidon. Even if these buildings fall, Hagrid will get militia back. That's why forward building as Poseidon is so scary. He's going to make sure that Mr. Boat never wants to extend out to this gold mine. And if he pressures the gold mine in the back, which Mr. Boat has not grabbed the town center to protect, so then Mr. Boat will only have this other town center here, which is a bit out in the open, and Hagrid could attack it. So I'm not sure if Hagrid's trying to do a gold starve or what, but then he, like, it does seem like that's sort of the direction where it's heading, with Hagrid opting to go for tech and stay on one town center. This fight here does seem to be in favor of Mr. Boat, but Hagrit will be heroic anytime soon and be able to use Curse to change the tide of this battle. How close is he? No, he's through Dionysus. He's up 70% Dionysus. Not going through Aphrodite. I'm not sure why he went for Dionysus. Maybe he wants the stronger cavalry. But yeah, this fight is definitely not looking good for Hagrit. He definitely would want to have waited a bit more to make sure he got to the heroic age before this fight started, so he could have the Hydra helping out, and also Bronze. Now Mr. Boat again winning another fight against Hagrit. If you just look at the units lost for both sides here, it actually looks quite even, but then Hagrit has lost a lot more wood in units than Mr. Boat. It's actually a lot more even than I thought. I thought Mr. Boat was really ahead from the units lost count. But honestly, with Greek against Norse, I kind of expect Greeks to be ahead in the units killed just because of the different units they have. I just feel like Greek units in general have a bit of an advantage against what the Norse has in classical fights. But then, that's not to say Greek is better overall, since Norse do get favored for fighting. They do have doors which Greeks don't have access to, so it kind of makes sense that Greeks have better units for fighting classical age. So, if an even kill death, I'd say would favor Norse and Norse against Greek. When you just exchange soldiers. Hagrit's now opting to use these Prodromos. And since Mr. Boat stopped making raiding cavalry, these Prodromos are going to be not very good here. I'd have thought that Hagrit would want to save up the food to go mythic. Yeah, he's not actually got that much food. So these Prodromos, they won't be that valuable. Hagrit's also controlling this gold mine really nicely, but there's just so many other safe gold mines on this map. Controlling this gold mine isn't going to be enough. Mr. Boat here, he's got 2,500 gold. So once he gets heroic age, he's going to be able to instantly go mythic just by selling all the gold he has. I'm not sure how close he is to heroic. Let's have a look at what they're going through. Yeah, Mr. Boat is almost through heroic, which means that he's going to be able to soon just be able to make a market and trade to go mythic. But he has to be careful here not to lose all these dwarves. Not lose all these dwarves to the raid. The Allsparks do come in time, so the dwarves won't fall to this raid here. But it's still a good raid nonetheless. This Hydra will be doing absolute work on this army until this Frost Giant comes in. This Frost Giant really needs to help to shut down this Hydra. And like, the more of these dwarves stay alive, the more deadly Ragnarok is going to be, so Mr. Boat should be really careful not to lose these dwarves. The Frost Giant has finally come, and it's going to be able to shut down this Hydra. This Hydra has 4 heads though, but then it's going to be frosted, so it's not going to be doing any damage anyway, but wow, that's really brutal. 4-headed Hydra, just one-shotting all these throwing axemen. That was such a powerful unit. Like, Hydras are just really good against Odin and Thor, until you get the Frost Giants coming in. They do get countered by the Frost Giants, but then without Frost Giants, they're just so powerful, seeing as they do have 60% hack armor, and they do so much damage once they grow heads. Mr. Boat has built a market now. He's probably selling. I mean, he's probably buying food to go mythic. He does have 2,000 gold. He's starting to kill a few ox carts as well. He's also just winning fights just fine with these Frost Giants. Hagrit's on 3 town centers. He's through Artemis. So he's going to be up mythic sooner than Mr. Boat, but I'm not sure if Artemis... Artemis at this stage of the game is going to really affect if it's really going to help him that much. The score is 1-1 right now. It's 1-1. I thought you could see it in the top corner. Yeah. Is Hull Fort coming down on this gold mine? I really think Mr. Boat should just go Mythic here. Hagrit Mythic through Artemis, and he's going to be able to use Earthquake on the main base, but Mr. Boat does have Masons. He loses a few houses here, but this town center isn't even going to fall. Since it's got all these buildings around, it's got the army, it's got the temple, it's got all these houses, it's got the longhouse here, it's got the tower, it's got all these other buildings around to soak the damage of Earthquake in. The town center actually survives it, and also has Masons and Fortified, so yeah, that Earthquake, it didn't really do a whole lot. Like, may have made Mr. Boat's houses for a bit, but that's about it. Mr. Boat's just going to be able to, like, does force Mr. Boat to take these 7 units out of the fight here. But with these Frost Giants, they're just going to do all the work he needs, and Mr. Boat is going to be able to go Mythic Age without any problems, I think. Yep, he is up through Baldur now. And Mr. Boat, he's only got 87 villagers. I'm not sure why he's not making villagers out of these 2 town centers, but then 87 villagers should be enough for a very scary Ragnarok, since he's already winning. These Chimeras just being frosted by the Frost Giant, absolutely brutal. Such a powerful special to use on any big units like other myth units and Heliopoli. The Frost Giants are just such an amazing myth unit. Like I'd say they're worthy. They're like on the same tier as like Colossi and Fire Giants. Frost Giants are that good, I think. Especially with the upgrade. The upgrade just does so much for them. Fight now also happening on Hagrid's gold. Hagrid's losing villagers right now as well. And Mr. Boat doesn't have quite the production near enough to this fight to be putting on as much pressure as he wants, but Hagrid's only got 100 population. He does have the Atlanta out to help deal with the Frost Giants. But yeah, Hagrid's only on 100 population, he's falling even below that, and he's not actually got the resources to just spam army out of all the buildings he has. I think this game is over. It was actually over for quite a while, I think, but yeah, I don't see how Hagrid's going to be able to hold here. He's just so far behind. Yeah, Mr. Boat has gone through Baldur, but he's choosing to hold on to the Ragnarok. I guess that is a safer option, since it does seem that he can win without the Ragnarok, and Hagrid resigns. So right now it's 2-1 for Mr. Boat. So if Mr. Boat wins the next game, he will win this best of series, and Hagrid will be out. While Hagrid needs to win 2 games to overcome Mr. Boat. Really, really good games again. Also fights happening this way that ultimately favored Mr. Boat, which is why I think he won. He just came out ahead in all these fights. Hagrid not using centaurs enough, I think. Centaurs are really helpful in this matchup to just yeah, centaurs are just really helpful against what Odin has, like with these Ursers just not being fast enough to remove them efficiently. Like, and you also just have to run through this mass of Hippocon and Toxotes to reach the Centaurs, so it's no good. And the Centaurs, they are really good against Ulfsarts. They just kill the Ulfsarts so fast. So Hagrid's saying last game in this title, not last 2 games. I apologize for sometimes being silent in my casting. It's really... I sometimes don't know what to say, and my voice is getting a bit hoarse right now. I need to drink some water. I thought that game that Hagrid might try to go for Ares because he really loves his Ares rushes as Poseidon. I know, um, Ares rushes against Norse especially, but then that map had really safe gold mines, so maybe that's why he opted not to use Ares. But with the aggressive hunt on that map, I think it might have still been worth it to just make sure to just use Pestilence to make sure that um to just make sure that he secures all the hunt. Hagrid right now going for Nuwa. Interesting. So it's going to be Nuwa and Mediterranean. He's going to send the first 3 villagers to Wood, which leaves me a little bit worried because I know I've played a little bit of Nuwa myself, and if you send the first 3 villagers to Wood like that, you're going to have problems with being able to continuously make villagers as Nuwa. So seeing this makes me a bit worried. I'm not sure if Hagrid has prepared Nuwa on water when I see this. Like I just don't think this is right. These 3 villagers on Wood. While Mr. Boat is playing Uranus. Uranus isn't the best god in Mediterranean, but if you know what you're doing, you can definitely do fine with Uranus, and everything looks to be standard so far from Mr. Boat. So I think we'll see a solid game coming out from Mr. Boat, but I'm a little bit worried about what Hagrid has here. He's already got his House on Idol. He has Force Drop, but like by the time this next villager finishes, I don't think he will have the food to start the villager after that one. So yeah, he needs to Force Drop again. And yeah, he after Force Dropping, he still doesn't have enough food. So I've played a bit of Nirwa, and yeah, you definitely can't send your first 3 villagers to Wood. You just can't, because with the lower starting food of China, it's not like the Greeks, where you can get away with sending your starting villagers to Wood. Like if you're starting villagers of China, they have to go to food. And since on the new Mediterranean, you always get some hunts in terms of orcs or boar at the start. Like I'd say you just build a storage pit and you go gather the auroch. That's what you do with your first few villagers. But then this auroch looks like it could be close enough to be lured into the town center range by Hagrid, but he doesn't seem to be doing that. In terms of fishing ship numbers, we do see Hagrid is leading by quite substantially. Hagrid's already got 5 fishing ships out compared to Mr. Boat 3, but Hagrid did have some idle TC time, so I wouldn't say that Hagrid is actually doing better despite having more of these fishing boats out. Hagrid going for 7 villagers on Wood, which is really high for Mediterranean. 7 villagers is a really high amount. 8 villagers on Wood? What? You don't need that many on Wood for Mediterranean. So Hagrid's going to be advancing super late, and he's probably going to be losing water like this with this many villagers on Wood. He's not going to be able to advance fast enough. This villager that's finished the temple also seems to be going back to Wood. So right now he's got 9 villagers over here on this Wood line, which is so much. And like with he's already building another dock now, but like yeah, I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit worried for Hagrid here with what he's doing, because he's going to be advancing so late with 9 villagers on Wood. He's also stopped building villagers from his town center. Well, it looks like he's not going to be too late on advancing. He's going to be starting to advance at 3:47, and that's actually going to be earlier than Mr. Boat. Hagrid's actually managing to advance earlier than Mr. Boat. That's really surprising. So he still managed to get like a 3:40 something advance time, despite having 9 villagers on Wood. That's definitely unexpected. I guess that's because he's got so many fishing ships. Maybe I'm doubting Hagrid too much here, and he does know what he's doing. But yeah, now if these if both Hagrit and Mr. Boat advance at similar times, I'd definitely give the edge to Hagrit now, seeing that the junks are much more preferable to the biremes of Atlantean, and also he does have the Barrage God power, which helps him win a fight, like similar to Restoration does, and removes a lot of the boats in play. In the 2.7 patch, it was buffed to deal double damage onto boats, and I believe it can do a total of like over 1,000 damage onto the boats, like probably 1,200-ish, I think, which is absolutely huge. That's like 5 biremes just gone from Barrage if he manages to hit all the... Like, if he manages to get the full Barrage off. It's just 5 biremes gone. You see a third dock coming out now for Hagrid, which... It's a bit early, 5 minutes for a third dock. But I guess it does protect his fish, so it's like, it's still going to be useful, even if he can't produce out of it. But I'd much rather see Hagrid's just like... making as many of these biremes as he can so that he can win water. He's also built 2 immortals to deal with these oracles here. You see Barrage also coming out extremely early for Hagrid, and it's going to be completely missing. Mr. Boat just moving his arrow ships away. Wow, that's such a strong god power, and it's going to be completely wasted. Oh no, that's not good for Hagrid. That's really not good. That's such a strong god power. You really don't want to waste it. This is good. It's like, that's like five biremes. It's like 5 biremes that... It could take out 5 biremes or like something. Actually, probably like 4 maybe, 4.5. But yeah, that's still such a huge number, and it hit absolutely nothing. Mr. Boat just baiting it out, and Hagrid being down his classic god power. Shockwave gets used, and it's not very effective, but Shockwave is nowhere near as important as the god power that Hagrid just missed on Mr. Boat's navy. Hagrid's also coming in now with his 2 immortals and this 1 scout cavalry, but Mr. Boat does have the Murmillows here. He has casted Valor in the Murmillows, and he has also got the Prometheans here to defend any pressure on land that Hagrid might try to pull on Mr. Boat. Neurological Syntax. I'm just reading your text right now. You send 2 to wood, 1 to dock, 1 to food. Dock villager builds house and food. And has still continuous TC. I don't think so. I think you need to send all your starting villagers to food as Nirwa. As Nirwa and water, like as China, you start with less food than as Greeks, so you need to send your starting villagers to food in order to have continuous villager production. We see these immortals here by Hagrid getting picked off by Mr. Boat's biremes. Now he does turn around and he is fighting the Murmillo now, but then the other Murmillo should be able to take care of it. Now a big fight's happening in the water in the middle, but Hagrid's far outnumbered by Mr. Boat, even though his boats are stronger. These numbers are just way too low to be able to contend with Mr. Boat's navy. He's got 13 biremes as opposed to Hagrid's 7. He has to be careful not to overextend into the docks right now, but then he's just demolishing Hagrid on water, it seems. Yeah, Hagrid's just getting completely knocked out of water right now. He is still continuing to make junks, though. He is putting them inside the docks, but only out of one dock. Actually, no, he's making them out of 2. So he does intend to try to make a comeback on water. But for the moment, Mr. Boat is far ahead on water. He's got 14 biremes right now, just killing all of Hagrid's junks. So Hagrid will need to make at least like 12 junks to be able to fight evenly with Mr. Boat's navy and water now. Mr. Boat has stopped his bireme production, while Hagrid is still continuing to make these arrow boats. And Mr. Boat instead is choosing to try to opt for land, so he's grabbing another town center. He's built 2 counter barracks. And Neurological Synapse asked if it's better to go TC now instead of come back. Well, really, it's a bit of a mind game. It's definitely a bit of a mind game whether you want to continue fighting water or you want to grab another town center, because if you continue fighting water, it can go horribly bad for you. If your opponent just like makes a few more biremes, then he'll just be really far ahead. But if you grab a second town center, then the water is lost forever. You just like if your opponent doesn't make any more ships and you just forfeit the water, then you'll generally means you're going to be quite far behind, though I think Hagrit might be able to come back in water now. He's got a really solid number of junks tucked away in his docks, and they're all coming out now. That's 16 junks. That's more than Mr. Boat's bireme amount. Mr. Boat does see it, and he's retreating now. Yeah, so what Hagrit done does seem to be... Like, I feel like it was probably the better play, considering that Mr. Boat has stopped his bireme production instead of continuing to pressure the docks with more and more ships to try and take them out. Yeah, the thing with making these boats inside your docks is your opponent doesn't know that you're making them, so like if he makes more ships to the water while you're just tucking these boats in your docks, then he is wasting his resources. So most players, they generally stop making boats after they have won water decisively enough. But Hagrid, he keeps on fighting and he continues to make junks out from all his docks, and he is coming back on water now. Though he has to be careful because Mr. Boat does have a land army coming in, and it's might be getting a bit of a raid on the woodline. Though with these Caraballistas, this army is sort of slow. It is a bit slow. So now we see that Mr. Boat has chosen to give up the water. He's not making... Oh no, he doesn't want to give up the water. He is now making more biremes out of the docks. While Hagrid has won water, and he stopped making biremes himself. Mr. Boat letting his biremes out a little bit early. Now Hagrid has to swing all these junks back in order to kill these biremes. He has to be careful not to lose these for free, since Mr. Boat doesn't want to give up water. He's still fighting, and the game has looked to equalize a little bit now. Hagrid's comeback on water was really, really good, but then it's a bit sloppy now, just losing all these junks. I guess he's really worried about this land army here, and that's what he's paying attention to. But yeah, losing all these junks, it's not good. The situation in water has equalized again. Hagrid right now, he's queuing junks again out from all 3 docks. Mr. Boat really should get a 3rd dock out, like around this fish triplet. It would be really nice to get a 3rd dock around here, so that he can make army even faster. I see Shockwave come down again on the boats. It only gets two of these junks though, but then since Shockwave does do 40 crush damage and these boats have 10% crush armor, the Shockwave is actually quite powerful in boats. It actually does quite a bit of damage compared to like Shockwave on soldiers. Shockwave is definitely really good for fighting water. Now Mr. Boat's fighting water again, and Hagrid seems to be pushed off. Is Hagrid still making junks? Yes, he is. Neither player has given up water at this point. They're still fighting back and forth. Hagrid is now trying to take his left town center. Hagrit is now bringing his true canoe to help deal with the Bireens, but then they're not useful. They're not good. The Bireens are definitely much stronger than the true canoe. So he is gonna have to back out. Did lose a few true canoe there. You definitely want to be fighting these Bireens with junks rather than soldiers because the junks, they just have so much more, like these arrow ships just have so much more stats than the human soldiers. They do really well against the human soldiers. See Hagrid in the heroic age now though, so he's going to be able to get out the siege junks to help him win the water. So he is being pressured right now on his on the spots, but then since this army is mostly made out of infantry, looks like Hagrid's true canoe based army should defend just fine, even though the true canoes are missing upgrades. Hagrid now making siege junks. How close is Mr. Boat to heroic? I also find it really interesting that Hagrid chose to advance through Dabo Gong, which gives him the Imperial examination power, as opposed to Herbo, who gives him Gazer. And I consider Gazer to be a much stronger god power than Imperial examination in general. Like Imperial examination is just really underwhelming for a heroic age god power, but then Gazer can completely turn the tides of a fight. So I think Gazer is actually a pretty decent god power. Hagrid now getting Catrifex out. Also building a castle. Mr. Boat now through Hyperion. So Hagrid needs to be really careful right now. He needs to split his army to make sure that this myth unit is not grouped with his army. Otherwise, Chaos will affect them. Well, will grab too many units and just be too powerful. So, yep, he does do that nicely. He's managed to move the Pixiu away so that it doesn't get hit by Chaos. And now Chaos is cast. It only gets these 3 soldiers and it doesn't get the Pixiu, which is good. And he can return the Pixiu to the fight. So Hagrid very smartly there moved the Pixiu away as soon as he saw Mr. Boat reach the heroic age, so it doesn't get hit by Chaos. And it's possible that maybe Thea would have been better here, Mr. Boat. Mr. Boat does have the 2 towers coming down, so he's definitely looking to secure his gold. And this game might be dragging out to late game, it seems, with these defensive talent center positions and the fact that both players aren't going to be running out of gold anytime soon. I feel like this game is probably going to be going to the late game. Mr. Boat is slightly ahead in score. He's got 3,350 score as opposed to Hagrid's 2,900. But keep in mind that he is Atlantean, so he will probably be falling off into the late game harder than Nirwa. Nirwa actually does have a very decent late game. This Pixiu now just doing absolute work on these Caraballistas. Managed to take out I think 2 or 3 Caraballistas on its own, so that was definitely good value. Good micro by Hagrid there. Hagrid taking this fight. Mr. Boat definitely didn't have any reason to be fighting there, so he overextended a little bit. And these Caraballistas, I think they're just not pulling their weight. Just not pulling their weight for Mr. Boat. It'd be probably much better for him to be making these Arcus, which he is transitioning into now, but he has come back with more Caraballista. And Hagrid's also making Fire Lances, which are going to be really useful when it comes to pushing against buildings, but then against this kind of army without too many Arcus, the Fire Lances aren't that great, I think. We see Hagrid advancing through the Mythic Age right now through Chongli. So he's going to be able to get the Inferno God power, and he's also going to be able to get the Vermilion Bird, and some really good armory technology, some really good technologies with Chun-Li. The Inferno God power, it's essentially quite similar to Lightning Storm. It just keeps blasting random units in the area, and the set of units will start blasting buildings as well, but then it's really more effective on units. You'd rather be hitting units with Inferno than buildings. And then the Vermilion Bird, it's the myth unit that you get with Chun-Li. It's a really powerful myth unit. It's a bit tankier than a Phoenix, and it does about twice the damage of a Phoenix. Really, really good myth unit. Hagrit also has quite a few gardens. He's spamming all the gardens now, so he's going to be able to... He's going to be able to be making those Vermilion Birds once he goes Mythic Age with all the favor. But Mr. Boat's also Mythic, and he uses Hortarian Gate. I would really love to see Inferno just being cast right now on this army of Mr. Boats here. It would also help kill the Hortarian Gate and the army. It's close enough, and since it doesn't affect your own soldiers, it won't, like, Hagrid actually won't lose any units to Inferno. So I'm not sure what he's saving the Inferno for here. We also see some action happening on the right side of the map. Hagrid setting up a trade route, but then Mr. Boat doing some sneaky side builds with the palace and watchtowers coming down here. Hagrid's going to try to stop the side build, but the palace does manage to come up, and that's going to be a problem for Hagrid. Hagrid is responding with his own castle. He's got scout cavalry coming out. He's also got another castle here, which should be making catapults soon to deal with the side build here. A raid on the gold mine over the wall by Mr. Boat onto Hagrid's gold. And right now, Hagrid's army is all focused around this Tartarian Gate, and he needs to do something with this army. He needs to go ahead and defend the raid. This situation on the right-hand side of the map is also really important for Hagrid to make sure that this side build doesn't grow. He really needs to control this area since that's where his trade is. Mr. Boat has secured his trade nicely though on the other side of the map. And we see Chaos get cast again, this time taking out a Vermilion Bird, absolutely massive, as well as the human soldiers. The Vermilion Bird is such a great unit. It's a real shame to lose it to the Chaos. Yeah, Hagrid should have definitely been more careful about that. And Mr. Boat going for the Secret of the Titans. I didn't actually see him researching that. He's going to be casting the Titan Gate now. And I don't know if Hagrid's going to be able to stop it. He does have Inferno, which could really be helpful in stopping this, but he has to get there fast enough. He doesn't have any way to get vision of it. He's got this one scout cavalry, but it's going to be stopped by the palaces coming in here. He really needs to get vision of the Titan Gate so he can cast Inferno and take out all these citizens trying to build it, and as well as maybe get some damage on it. He needs to be using Inferno. Just use it here, Hagrid. Come on. Use Inferno now. Inferno. He also has the recreation power. He needs to... He probably could have used it like that. Why isn't Hagrid using Inferno? Come on. There's no point in saving Inferno. It just gets better and better the more you save it. Why isn't Hagrid using Inferno? I don't understand it. He is finally getting the Vermilion Bird over to try and get vision of the Titan Gate, and it looks like it will make its way over, but then by this time, the Titan Gate is already 40% complete. The Inferno will be removing the citizens building the Titan Gate, but I doubt it will do much to the actual Titan Gate itself. It won't kill all the citizens, though. It will kill some of the citizens. And right now, Mr. Boat does notice the Vermilion Bird, so he just needs to heroize these Arcuses, and then take out this Vermilion Bird, and he'll be able to get this Titan Gate up, no problem. But the Inferno, it might be able to remove some of these Arcus heroes. So the Inferno does manage to slow the Titan Gate down, but it's not by a lot. Not by a lot. It stopped Hagrid from building. I mean, it stopped Mr. Boat from building the Titan Gate for 20 seconds. It did like a tiny bit of damage to it, but It's not going to be that great there. Vermilion Bird does crush damage or no? The Vermilion Bird does both crush and hack damage. Yeah, it does, and it does a lot of it because when it attacks, it spews out this little fire tornado things that do AOE damage to all units that sit on it. And the fire tornadoes, they last like 5 seconds, and that's a big source of the Vermilion Bird's damage. It does like these little tornadoes that it spits out does so much damage. It seems not much. Yeah, I mean, it was only one bird, and it's like, and the fact that it's AOE damage means that like against a clumped group of soldiers or villagers, it really does do a lot of damage. But yeah, this Titan gate's gonna be finished no problem, and Hagrit. And Hagrid's gonna have to deal with this Titan with only 8 immortals, and he could also be using the Vermilion Birds to deal with the Titan. The Vermilion Birds are actually really good at fighting the Titan, seeing as they're both them and their tornadoes do have a 3 times multiplier against myth units, I believe. And maybe Hagrid will also be opting for some monks as well to try and deal with it. You know, Hagrid might not have the gold economy to be making all the monks right now that he needs. Vermilion Birds aren't broken. I'd say that like they do about twice as much damage as the Phoenix, but I don't think they're broken because they come with Chong-Li, and Inferno is actually a bit underwhelming for a Mythic God power. I'd say it's a little bit weak. And also, you can't really just look at this myth unit. You also have to look at the Civ as a whole, and I actually think that Chong-Li isn't actually better than Ao Kuang, who has the Great Flood in many situations. So right now, Hagrid is pushing on the left side, and in the meantime, Mr. Boat's Titan is going on the right side. The Titan is looking to stop Hagrid's trade, which will be very problematic for him. So Hagrid should be bringing some villagers down to be able to set up a trade on the left side of the map. Hagrid also opting to make some war chariots, which is a very interesting decision. I'm not sure if these war chariots are actually better than just having multiple scout cavalry. Yeah, so Hagrid really coming down here with I don't disagree that Chong-Li is weaker or god. No, I'm saying that they're both they both apply in different situations, but on average, I think I would take Ao Kuang more often than Chong-Li because I just think Great Flood is a better god power than Inferno. That's just what I think. Like on average. Even though I think the Vermilion Bird is a really good unit, like the Vermilion Bird, but then you don't say it's just overpowered. You have to look at the picture of the whole. I'd say they're good, but they're not overpowered. And you see also, like these tornadoes, they don't actually do damage if the unit moves away. So, like the Titan has to stand under these tornadoes to actually be taking damage from it. Hagrid now moving in for a side build with these peasants. Maybe he's also looking to replace the market. He's also going to be able to do some harassment on Mr. Boat's trade, and Hagrid is actually now quite substantially taking the score lead. You also see that the Gardens of New Wa giving Hagrid +1 population each. It is having an effect. We see Hagrid's maximum population is 170, so Hagrid's always having this really nice big army to be able to fight with Mr. Boat. Are war chariots good now after the patch? Well, honestly, there's a lot of mixed opinions right now about the war chariots. Also, some people think they're good, some people think they're not that good. I personally think they're not terrible units, but then they're basically just like they're equivalent to 3 scout cavalry, and so they're kind of pointless in China when you already have scout cavalry. These guys cost 100 food and 100 gold, though they are cheaper as New Wa, as all human soldiers are. And Scout Cavalry costs 30 food and 40 gold, and like 3 Scout Cavalry basically do the job of 1 heavy chariot. That's just what I think. They're basically the same. They're not really better than the Scout Cavalry. They're only better than the Scout Cavalry once you have the upgrades that Siwao Mu gives to your castle units, which give them more health. But otherwise, I don't think they're better than Scout Cavalry. I'd rather just see Hagrit spamming some stables and getting out more scout cavalry to deal with these Arcus. You see Hagrid still replacing the markets on this side. I'd really love to see Hagrid build his markets on the side where the Titans are not on, so that he can get a better trade route going. This Titan right now, it's got 3,000 health left. It's being chased down by these Immortals, and that's Vermilion Bird also definitely put a good number on the Titan before it has been brought down. No, Albert Arcus. No, Albert Armchair. Arcus heroes are much better than Hero Termas at dealing with myth units. My argument again for the War Chariot is that 3 Scout Cavalry are basically equivalent to 1 War Chariot, and the Scout Cavalry are better because it's easier to make the buildings that make them. That's pretty much it. Yeah, so the Arcus heroes are definitely the Atlantean's best answer to myth units. You don't want to be making Terma heroes once you have access to these Archive. I mean Arcuses. These War Chariots actually, wow, they got so much stats. These War Chariots have 20 attack, but keep in mind that they do have a lot of upgrades. Look at these upgrades. They've got so many upgrades. Wow, look at these stats on the War Chariots. 285 hit points and 19 attack. I mean 20, it shows here. Yeah, these are 3 population units, but wow, look at the stats on them. They are definitely so much more stronger than what you can get out of Hippicons, so you have to keep in mind that they are more expensive. Hagrid finally making a market on the left side of the map, so he's going to be able to redivert his trade into where the Titan is not at. Yeah, anyway, personally, my opinion after analyzing China is War Chariots are kind of like, they're okay, but I'd rather use Scouts when I can make them on cheaper buildings. They're just outshined by the Scout Cavalry that China has. Now these Vermilion Birds are absolute monsters. These Gardens, they generate 0.6 favor per second in total with 10 Gardens, so that means that Hagrid's getting out a Vermilion Bird every 50 seconds. Which is really annoying for Mr. Boat to deal with, seeing as he's Atlantean and his heroes cost so much. The Titan's still on the right side of the map, he's still trying to wreak havoc, but it looks like it's almost dead. Hagrid's blocking the Titan nicely with these ghost builds. He's also got the Mortals coming out of these Town Centers. They're going to be able to deal with the Titan nicely. Mr. Boat doesn't have the siege to follow up with this Titan after pushing. This Titan might be able to get the Town Center down though, but I'm not sure if Mr. Boat has the army presence here to be able to take advantage of that. He really needs to move these citizens forward to try and capitalize on this Town Center going down and flood this area with units. Yeah, I really think that, like, maybe Mr. Boat should, like, making some Prometheans, actually. Seeing that Immortals have to use their melee attack against Prometheans, so they're less efficient. So, like, a bunch of Prometheans and Fire Siphons and Arcus pushing in on this Town Center. If he can keep this Town Center down, then Mr. Boat will still be in the game. He also has to worry about this Town Center on the right-hand side. This Titan now, it's got 281 health left. It does have the Mythic Rejuvenation upgrade that Hecate gives you, so as you can see right now, it's regenerating health. It's got 290 HP and it's going up and up and up. It's now 300, so it's generating, I think, 1.5 health per second. Yeah. And right now it's just beating up these poor gold miners that Hagrid has on gold. But Hagrid still won't have any gold issues, seeing that he does have the trade on the other side of the map. And these Yak caravans, they absolutely are being very efficient right now. It's a 100 gold trade route. It's really, really nice trade route. Looks like this town center for Mr. Boat will be going down. You see the sitting tiger, the catapult for Hagrit, focusing it down. It's actually got no upgrades though, compared to the fire lances, which have these with crap ton of upgrades. So maybe it makes more sense for Hagrid to be making these fire lances than these catapults. Yeah, these fire lances they got burning pitch as well, which gives them 3 crush damage. Just 25% of their base crush attacks. Absolutely huge. Like fire lances, fire lances benefit from so many different upgrades. That's why they're so good in deathmatch. But then like they become kind of lackluster until the late game in supremacy. What's the deal with Sitting Tigers compared to other Civ's catapults? The Sitting Tiger is actually exactly the same as the Egyptian catapult in terms of its stats. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same unit, but then the main difference is that you have to build a castle to build it, so it's a bit harder to get them out than Egyptians who only have to make a siege works, which is much easier and cheaper to make than the castle. Okay, so here's the thing. Anti-archers don't counter fire lances. Fire lances are not archers anymore in this new patch. They are siege weapons that also benefit from armory upgrades. These guys are not archers. It says here that you counter with cavalry, catapult, hit, spearmen. Yeah. Wow, that was an incredible game. That was an incredible game. Let's look at the kill death. Wow. Ooh, Mr. Boat really has a lot better kill death than Hagrid, but then if we look at all resources total, Hagrid does seem to have much bigger economy in the late game from this really, really long trade route. Like, he had a much, much bigger trade route, and wow, all these upgrades for the Chinese villagers. So full upgrades. And keep in mind that Atlantean villagers, like, these aren't fully upgraded, but they do fall off late game anyway. Atlantean villagers, because they're 3 population, but they only gather at the rate of 2.5 villagers of other civs, despite being 3 population. So these citizens, they do fall off late game for Atlantean. You can also have only 25 of them, not including the heroes. That was an incredible game. So on to game 5. That was 2-2. Ooh, Mr. Britt says that was torture, but I'm gonna say that was an incredible game. So my guy's gonna play this game today. Like Hagrid and Mr. Boat now are probably both exhausted. Okay, so Hagrit wants to... Hagrit and Mr. Boat, final game. These guys are both champions. Hagrit especially has been playing in the deathmatch tournament prior. He says he's played 10 deathmatch games prior, but he's still got the energy. He still wants to finish off the series. It's been an incredible series, and hopefully we see a really interesting Game 5. We're going to Game 5, and it's going to be Ra against Isis. Haven't actually seen Mr. Boat played Isis. I definitely was not expecting the Isis from Mr. Boat, and Hagrit going for Ra. It's on Oasis, so I definitely think that Ra has a bit of an advantage here on Oasis, seeing that it's solo hunts. He can really make use of the rain, but in general, most people think that Isis is just like... Isis is sort of a little bit of a counter to Ra. So it's going to be Game 5 of this series. You see Hagrit going to be scouting with his Pharaoh a bit to try and find some goats, while Mr. Boat is only going to be scouting with his priest. Like, yeah, you always scout with the Pharaoh's brow, so I don't know why I was saying that. It's really standard. So I'm really interested to see what Mr. Boat will go for on this map. Will he try to boom? Will he try to fast heroic and push? Like with Hagrit, I think it's pretty safe to say that we're going to see a 2 TC Ptah from Hagrit, and just sort of a 2 or 3 tanks in our boom with like maybe quite a few walls. So that's what I'm really expecting from Hagrit, but I have no clue what Mr. Boat has in store for us. I feel like there are a lot more ways to approach this as Isis than as Ra. Mr. Boat could try to boom against Hagrit. He could, like, I mean, he does have Prosperity, which is really good, and he also has extra 10 population in the late game as Isis. Cheaper upgrades, so Isis definitely could... That definitely is an option for Mr. Boat, to just try to compete with Ra on the boom. You could also just try to be very aggressive and push on the town centers, though it's a little bit difficult on Oasis, since this map is so big and has these backward town centers. I'm not really sure if I agree with the statement that there isn't really safe gold here. I mean, like all the golds are forward, but then if you look here, there's one gold mine all the way to the left over here for Hagrit, and there's another gold mine all the way over here. So like these two gold mines are really far apart. So if you want to gold starve as Mr. Boat, you have to be attacking both of these sides, and your forces will be split. While Hagrit can just focus all his forces on one spot and be able to secure the gold more easily. I think, like, if you just look at how many gold mines there are multiple gold mines that Hagrit could potentially try to go to, and that's usually the case with Oasis, which is why, like, even though you see this forward gold, I don't think gold stars are too common on Oasis, just because of, like, especially with these one force Oases, like these one force Oasis maps tend to be really defensive. You see Hagrit actually going for a double monument strategy against Isis, so maybe he might be going for some scarabs this game. Usually I don't think it's common for Ra to go for a double monument against Isis. Though again, I'm not really much of a Ra player. But yeah, that's because Isis has all these priests, especially that you can make so many with Prosperity, that it just shuts down all your myth unit spam. So yeah, I just feel like this double monument is a little bit unusual. Then maybe Hagrit's going for Scarabs, maybe he's going for Pitsutros. I don't think he's going for Sphinxes or Wadgets here. Mr. Boat going for this early Prosperity without Pickaxe. He's got 14 villagers in gold. I really don't like using Prosperity before having Pickaxe, but then I guess Mr. Boat's goal right now is to get as much gold as possible to grab 3 town centers very quickly, and just try to get as much gold as well to be able to ride out the rain. I really wish that Mr. Boat got pickaxe before using prosperity. It really helps the mining rate. He's also got 2 giraffes here, which I think he does see, and he will want to be gathering that up. Hagrit I'm not sure if he's aware of these giraffes. Yeah, he does see them. He's chosen not to gather them since they're too far out. He's instead opted to go for these monkeys, which is fine, especially since on 2.7 they have become much easier to kill and become a much more valuable food source. Mr. Boat is now classical age, and he's grabbing a second town center. He's got the goal to grab another town center, but his food economy is not doing so great. He's also now spamming farms, so maybe it's going to just be 2 town centers for Mr. Boat. Yeah, maybe it's just going to be 2 town centers and lots of farms to ride out the inevitable rain from Hagrit. Hagrit's now going through Ptah. I imagine that Hagrit will also be doing a 2 TC boom with rain. Mr. Boat has moved himself onto the giraffes. Good, I like that. You should always be making use of the hunt, even against Ra, who is going to be raining. You want to be making use of all the hunt you have anyway. Mr. Boat also is doing pretty good on goats compared to Hagrit. Hagrit really doesn't have many goats. So Mr. Boat is going to be able to have good food income even after the rain. Hagrit's up a little late. I'm not sure about that. Let's have a look. Hagrit is up at 5:40. It's slightly late, but it's not that late. It's going to be fine for Hagrit. He's going to be able to still get a good heroic timing. Keep in mind that the later you advance, the more resources you get because you have the villagers gathering the resources while you're advancing. Like, if you train a villager before you advance, it gathers resources while you're advancing, so it gets you... Like, the later you advance, the more resources you'll have. But of course you want to strike a balance because you don't want to advance too late since that'll leave you very vulnerable. And also you want to get your town center up sooner so you can get even more villagers. So expect rain to come down right about now for Hagrit. He's got 6 farms here. He's got 300 gold as well, so he's going to be making more farms here from this other town center. He's also getting Skin of the Rhino, Hands of the Pharaoh, so all the good upgrades. And he's farming now with, right now, how many farms? He's got 12 farms. I'm not sure if he's going to be making more farms though. Meanwhile, looking at Mr. Boat, Mr. Boat has 9 farms, so yeah, both of them have pretty good farm numbers. Hagrit does have a bit more, seeing as he has taken Shadoof. But Mr. Boat will be able to gather food from his goats even after the farm is over. The Pharaoh right now is empowering this town center with only 3 farmers around it, so I think that's a bit of an inefficient use of the Pharaoh. It should really be empowering this hometown center with more villagers gathering food from it. You also see the Sphinx aggression come in now from Mr. Boat. Mr. Boat has 2 priests, but then this Pharaoh right here with Hands of the Pharaoh is going to be much more powerful than these priests. If you look at the damage, this Pharaoh has 14 attack compared to the priest 3. So he's going to be able to hold on to this gold mine no problem. But then that also means that this Pharaoh wasn't empowering this town center. So that's a lot of food loss for Hagrit. And Hagrit is going through Hathor. It's going to advance through Hathor. So I was wrong in my prediction about Hagrit going for those scarabs in this matchup. I mean, like it is a big map, so it's harder to make use of the scarabs. But then against Isis, like Locust gets blocked off by the monuments, but Citadel is going to be still be really good. So I thought that Hagrit might have gone for a Sekhmet instead. You see 13 farms from Mr. Boat, and how many for Hagrit? 13 for Hagrit, so they actually have the same number of farms. Still no pickaxe for Mr. Boat. No, he finally has pickaxe. Mr. Boat will be going to the heroic age a little bit later. He's actually not making villagers from this town center, but he is ahead 10 villagers to Hagrit. Very substantial number. As long as he doesn't lose them to Locust, which he hasn't prepared the monuments for, then he'll be doing just fine with his higher villager count. I'd also really like to see some walls going down for Mr. Boat to help make sure that these camels and chariot archers don't just run through. Since this is a big map, the siege towers aren't really going to be able to start pushing for Hagrid anytime soon. Like, the Migdol units are going to be more of a threat in the meantime, so some walls for Mr. Boat would be really, really nice for keeping out those Migdol units while he can boom to the Mythic Age. I also really want to see Handex and Shaftmine. Looks like Mr. Boat is advancing to the Heroic Age through Nepthes, so he will be having the Ancestors and Eclipse power, but he won't be able to push it, since he is a little bit slower to get all the army out and get everything going. But Ancestors and Eclipse is still going to be good defensively in terms of repelling Hagrid's army, getting off a few kills, and also sort of forcing a ceasefire while all of Hagrid's units run away. The cavalry are really, really fast though, so they will be able to escape. But the Petsuchos are not so fast, and they may be able to be picked off using Ancestors and Eclipse. So Hagrid is moving in right now. He's got all the units here. I would have really loved to see a wall here from Mr. Boat. It would really slow down these advances from Hagrid. And this Migdol, it looks like it will come up just in the nick of time. Both of the players do have Hands of the Pharaoh, so Hagrid's Pharaoh should be able to help deal with the Petsuchos. But all the cavalry here, if they focus down this Pharaoh, the Pharaoh will fall really quickly. You see a fight breaking down now. We see the Migdol is being empowered by Mr. Boat, so it will be doing a lot of damage into these chariots. And Hagrid's units are traveling all the way across the map to attack you, so a really, really big defender's advantage for Mr. Boat. But Mr. Boat is a bit slower to age up and do everything. Mr. Boat has also established his third town center, which is really nice for him. He's going to be doing really nicely in the villagers. It looks like the villager count for both players are even right now, seeing as Hagrid probably has managed to pick off some villagers here. Hagrid also may want to grab some of these villagers forward and do some forward builds, some siege works here. So Ancestors and Eclipse does go down right now. It's going to repel Hagrid off, and like he just puts all the units into the rock, and that's actually a really good use for it. So the minions, they aren't going to be able to take out Hagrid's army, but it is going to be like a ceasefire, like I said, for Mr. Boat. He really did need that little bit of breather room to stop Hagrid from just pushing and pushing and pushing. And now these minions are traveling up the map, so they're going to be able to pick up a few units here, hopefully. And yeah, but they're not going to be able to do that much damage. I think only a few units. While it also gives Hagrid some time to do some forward building on the right-hand side of the map. Though it is spotted by Machiavelli with his chariots, but Hagrid already has gotten the Migdol up. And there's going to be a push now happening on Mr. Boat's town center to the right. Now the rock here is transporting all of Hagrid's units over to the other side, and he's going to be able to get the Migdol and the siege works, and in turn, Mr. Boat has moved a lot of these gold villagers over, and he's going to be trying to make the Migdol himself. I feel like Mr. Boat really needs a few more priests just to deal with any Petsuchos that Hagrid might make. Hagrid also, he should really be empowering this gold mine. Like, it's got 25 villagers on it. So you see, Hagrit definitely does have a bigger army here. Mr. Boat's only on 112 population, as opposed to Hagrit's full population of 145. But it'll be a while until all these siege towers comes out, especially since Hagrid is full population. You won't be able to get the siege towers out soon, and without the siege towers, there's gonna be no backbone to this push without the siege towers. Hagrid also has shifting sands, which could be really powerful. Like it's a really tricky god power. I'm not sure what the shifting sands will be for, but it's definitely something that will be really good for Hagrid. Locust also could happen now on these villagers. There's about 7 villagers here trying to take out the siege tower. I don't think they're in range of the monument though. They seem quite far away. Yeah, Locust could definitely be happening soon right here in this location. Locust comes down, and all these villagers, they're gonna fall. They're gonna move. They're gonna take out the siege tower, but they're gonna be removed by the Locust. The Basutros is focusing them down, and now the villagers are backing off into the town center. They're not going to be able to build this Migdol, and that's like I believe 5 laborers dead to the Locust. That was a very decent Locust. It also means that this really important Migdol isn't gonna come up for a while. Looking at both players, they both have really good eco ups, so it looks like this game will be going to the late game, it seems. Probably will be going to the late game. The score is really close. Is anyone going Mythic yet? No one's quite going Mythic, so both of these players are just locked in the battle over here. Mr. Boat trying to defend on this town center. Both players are building a market on the left side of the map. Hagrid's walling up now, which is a really good move. Like, controlling the corners of this map will be really important to make sure that you get the best trade possible, and Hagrid has done a stellar job of that on the right hand side, being able to get a trade. But then it would also be really nice for him if he could stop Mr. Boat. If he could stop Mr. Boat from being able to build markets on the other side of the map. So now we see the push coming in, but then the mercenaries, like this, the fact that Mr. Boat is defending also means that he has access to these mercenaries, which are just so powerful. If you look at these stats, they only cost 120 gold, and these are just like some incredible stats for a 120 gold unit. 228 health, really insane. Hagrid finally using the Shifting Sands God power to bring 8 cavalry out of the action. I'm not sure where these cavalry were from. They certainly weren't from here. Maybe they were doing the side build, but these cavalry, this is not a good place for them to shift to, because now they're going to be wreaking havoc on Hagrid's trade. So maybe that Shifting Sands was a bit dodgy. Maybe it was a little bit dodgy. You know, like, he could have maybe made a little jail cell in the corner of the map here and shifted the cavalry there, but like, yeah, that shift is now going to mean that he's going to have to make a few mercs from this town center to deal with the cavalry, but even that may not be enough. But he does seem to be pushing really nicely on this town center. These siege towers are now rolling in, and Mr. Boat's units, they're falling. There isn't anything now to hold on to this town center. His production is all the way over here, so that's going to be an issue. If this town center falls, it's going to be really, really huge, and there's nothing to stop these siege towers. There's nothing to stop these siege towers from happening. No, I think he definitely shifted the camels. I think it was definitely the camels that were being shifted there. Now this is going to be a real problem for Mr. Boat. Hagrid already has some 7 villagers here, and they're moving down, though he does need a priest or fair to come down and empower, not build this TC faster. But then if this Migdol comes up, it's going to be really, really nasty for Mr. Boat to reclaim this settlement. And he... Hagrid also not empowering again. Oh man, come on. He's got 23 villagers here. He really needs to get some dude over to empower this stuff. I mean, he's got the priest here. He's got his pharaoh here. But yeah, these guys should really be empowering. He's not making the best use out of Ra, but he is winning all the fights here. I believe he's probably got a much better kill death Yeah, as if we look at the kill death, Mr. Boat has lost 27 villagers so far, as opposed to just 10 for Hagrid. And in terms of the units killed, units lost, they're both actually pretty similar. Mr. Boat also has lost more buildings, so yeah, Hagrid's definitely doing better in the military trades than Mr. Boat is, with these stronger rock camels and not just like better timing on all the techs. Yeah, these rock camels, they're just so strong. Like, if you look at this is 0.5 speed and 19.8 hit points. Like like I believe it's 22% of their base health. 22%, which is so big. Like if like compared to like other civs, like Hades has 10% damage on his archers. Odin has like Odin has, I believe, 15 or 20% on his middle units, but 22% is so big. And they also get speed on top of that. They also get extra speed. Extra speed means that the chariot archers are able to dodge the chariot archer arrows from Mr. Boat if Hagrid micros them. But I'm not sure how big a part that has played in this game. I'm not sure how big a role this extra speed has played. Now Hagrid has taken the town center of Mr. Boat, and now it's a 4-2 town center situation. And Hagrid is also able to spam mercenaries out of this town center, which is going to be really important as well. Having this aggressive town center as Egypt is so important. As we can see, Hagrid does have the gold too. He's got 1,000 gold. He's also up through Mythic, through Osiris. I think this is going to be I think we're going to be seeing the end of this game with this Osiris happening over here on this town center. Ooh, this is going to be big. The mercenaries coming out too. All the mercenaries, the siege towers. He's got this one siege works down here. I'd really love to see another siege works for Hagrid. But I mean, this push is working. He's got the elephants, he's got the chariots, he's got all these units down here, and he's got 180 population, along with extra population from the mercenaries. I also really want to see crenellations from Mr. Boat, seeing as he does have so many buildings here, and he's against lots of cavalry. Crenellations doubles the damage of arrows against cavalry, so they're really important if you're gonna have lots of these arrow buildings fighting against cavalry like we see here. Really needs crenellations. It would help him so much. I really can't overstate it. Get crenellations, 150 food, 150 wood. It's so good. Really should be getting it. Double the damage on these cavalry units and making it so that your arrows stop missing against them. Mr. Boat on 120 population to Hagrid's 170. It's definitely not looking good for Mr. Boat here. Mr. Boat does have 1,700 gold in the bank. He really should be spamming all the mercenaries he can. He's also ran out of gold here, so he's going to have to start mining here, which might be a bit exposed. Oh, this is really sketchy. This is really sketchy moving in here. Though I don't think Hagrid has vision of it. The catapults are also finally been coming out for Hagrid. And they're going to be able to take out these Migdals easily. I don't think Mr. Boat can hold. Let me see the GG. You see Mr. Boat say GG, and it looks like it's gonna be 3-2 in favor of Hagrid. Wow, what an incredibly close series. Loads of it really close game, really good games out of these players. And that was you also saw the first China being picked in the tournament. And I don't think we actually saw any stream including China yet so far. So Hagrid being the first to play China and get a win with it. So yeah, wow. Really good games. See Hagrid and Mr. Boat, Hagrid being slightly ahead in resources because he's raw, which is sort of to be expected, but Mr. Boat holding on well for most of the game until ultimately this town center goes down. He just didn't have the production there. Like, not getting this Migdal up thanks to Locust was really huge for Hagrid. All of Mr. Boat's production was all the way over here to the left for this Migdal, and he finally gets crenellations, but it's a bit late. Having that Migdal here and having the crenellations to deal with the cavalry would be so helpful for Mr. Boat. Look at the kill death. Hagrid's also been doing better on the kill death here, thanks to the stronger Ra units. Very good game. So, Yeah, that's 3-2 for Hagrit. If you guys have any questions right here that you want to ask me, or then I'll go ahead. Otherwise, we'll be turning the stream off. So first game, I believe it was Zeus for Mr. Boat. I need to get the standings for the tournament. I need to get the. I need to like I don't have the link with me right now for the challenge bracket. I'll try to get them. So the first game was Zeus against Zeus on Anatolia. The second game was okay. So just a recap. I actually can't remember what the second game was. Was it Odin against Poseidon? I think that was the third game. No, the second game was Zeus against. I actually can't remember what the second game was. Let me up this Odin. Yeah, okay, so that's going to be it for the stream. I'm going to be turning the stream off. Thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Hope these games were exciting for you as they were for me. See you.